We are Steve and Jill. Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. I'm Steve and Jack Butala.
And I'm Jill DeWit, and this is the Land Academy Show.
This is episode number 2034, and today we're talking about adding value to a land deal by minor splitting or subdividing the land. There's all kinds of misinformation out there, and Jill and I will tell you exactly what's possible and likely, and how we do it and actually make it work for us.
And when you should do it. You know what the biggest thing I think I hear people doing is, when you're new to land especially, you think you have to do something to it to make it more valuable. That's not what we're saying. I don't want you to go out, and I know we're going to talk about too, like overspend for something because you know you're going to split it and it's going to pay off in the end. I still want you to buy it right. So this is just an option.
Look, we want you to make money, and we want you to do it realistically and go into it with your eyes open and what to expect and all of that. So, in fact, this week, all week is called, I'm calling it the theme of adding value to your land deal. So one way you can add value is, like I said, to minor split the property, but there's, depending on where you are in the country, it's tricky.
Sure.
It can be glorious and profitable, but it's time consuming. There's we'll talk all about it.
Oops.
Oops.
Hoops to jump through.
Each day on the show, we answer a question from our Land Academy member Discord forum, and we take a deep dive into one land-related topic by your request. Let's take a question, Joe.
All right. James wrote, does anyone recommend a text message service that doesn't give warnings for stop responses or shut the service off after no reply messages, aka Google Voice? You know what's funny about this is that for my work phone, we have a phone system, right? Because we have numerous employees and we need to transfer calls and different phone numbers feed in. So it's not just my little land business. It's more like Land Academy. But I use my work phone all the time, and I forget that that's on there, that sometimes text messages go out, and it might be, let's just say I'm out of town and I'm even booking a hair appointment, not kidding. And it'll have on there, they told me later, please reply stop to stop and they're like, huh? You're like, you're booking a hair appointment. I'm very confused here. It's really funny. So, there are some services I think that you can get. I mean, well, first of all, you could go get a whole separate phone number and that'll solve that. Number one. It's getting more and more advanced and easy depending what you're doing. And I know that, I know there's probably a trailing response in Discord on this, probably, right? 10 people said, use this phone and this doesn't do it and here's how and all that good stuff.
So every marketing idea that's very effective eventually gets regulated because it gets misused and abused. And so texting and spam, it falls under the spam laws, is no exception. So let's start with the actual rule. The actual rule is some version of this. You can't solicit or reach out to anybody. Solicit means reach out to somebody. Attempt to contact. It doesn't mean try to sell them something. You can't reach out to somebody, according to the law, if you don't have a pre-existing relationship. So think about that. Well, then how do I have a relationship? Do I have to meet them in person in a bar? I don't know. So I've always been wondered about that. But that's the rule. If you have a pre-existing business relationship with somebody, it's perfectly legal and ethical to contact them via text. Well, that doesn't help us. Thousands and thousands of people we want to send letters to every month and contact them. So here's what we do. On one side of it, you can look at a map. You have a target property and you want to sell it. This is how we use it. And so we effectively text people on a personal level, one by one, down that block to say, hey, John Smith, not hey you, or hey landowner, or any of that stuff. Hey, John Smith, we purchased the property down the street from you, and we were going to resell it. We would like to let you know that the property, we'd like to offer it to you if you're interested in buying it for this price before we send it out, before we list it for sale. And then that seems to evoke very positive responses. No, thank you. Oh, thanks for letting me know. We're not interested, or we are interested. And that's a real healthy, in my opinion, use of texting. The way that you don't want to do it is robotexting, where you have a list of 1,000 numbers from a database, and you buy a service, buy into a service, or send out thousands of notes saying, hey, do you want to sell your land?
Right.
If you start to look around the internet, there's class action suits that revolve around that all over the place, and they're very expensive and it's all complaint driven. So when you really think about it, I have I started my career with faxing, not literally sending mail merged faxes all over the country to see if people wanted to sell their nursing homes. There was no regulation based on that, and it was very, very successful. And one day I woke up and that was no longer possible. The regulations kicked in. So it's for just any solicitation. For some reason, if you talk to anybody who doesn't live in this country, who's buying and selling land here, they're shocked and amazed that we have access to a database. First of all, a database of who owns everything. And second of all, you can actually send them a letter, and it's legal and ethical.
Exactly.
So tread very lightly about texting. I understand the sentiment. As an entrepreneur, you're like, what?
You know what? Back to the topic, though, and I'm sure there's a lot of discussions on here. We have used Vumber. There's Open Phone. I can't remember what the latest and greatest best one is, but I'm sure they're all Sorry, I didn't see this in Discord. Or I would be sharing the response directly from Discord. So I know people have weighed in there on that, but I've never been a fan of Google Voice, no matter what. At the very end of the day, I don't know why. It just worked for me.
I haven't used it recently. I agree with you, Joe. I haven't used it recently, but it used to be clunky and clicky, literally clicky, and there would be delays, and then it would get rerouted somewhere. It's obvious. So
it was obvious what it was.
I don't know if they changed.
And I tried to make it less obvious. Exactly. Cool. Well, and you know what? In Google Voice, hold on a moment. I don't think you own the phone number. It's very different when you get a Vumber number or Open Phone or other things, and you you own that number and you port them around. I think Google Voice might even change, and so you got to be careful of that. You want a number you're going to keep. So,
my final point on this topic is we're entrepreneurs, and so when you take a step back and say, "Wow, I could do this, this, and this," that's going to make some money and maybe do some good on the planet. And then you get into it and find out you can't do it because the regulations have stopped you. And so this has been happening my entire entrepreneurial career for decades and decades about land, and it's not land specific, but anybody who's an entrepreneur who's trying to do something to make some dough, it's very regulated. So please just keep this in mind, James. I chose your question out of a lot of questions on Discord because I wanted to make this point. When something seems amazing in the entrepreneurial world, wait a second, all you got to do is get a list of everybody's phone number and all these people that own land and send them a text message to see which ones want to buy it. It's probably been so abused by the time you got to it that you're just going to have to be careful. Mm-hmm. And you have to have some knowledge of the whole thing and use it within your risk level. Today's topic, adding value to a land deal by minor splitting or subdividing the land. So let's take a look at some definitions very quickly, and I'll start with a story. I purchased a very, very long time ago, purchased a 40-acre property in Arizona. And it was very obvious to me that somebody went and subdivided the 40-acre property into 1-acre properties, just squares. And so there were 40 1-acre properties, and they subdivided it, and they were done, and they got 40 APNs out of it. And then person that I bought it from undid that. So the subdivider did what they did. Somebody bought all those properties and then went to the county and said, I don't want all these properties and these APNs. I don't want to pay all the taxes on 40 properties. I want to do it on one. And so they put it all back together. And then they got my letter. This is 1 million years ago. And I bought the property from them and undid it. I undid. This is back when you could do all this stuff. This is back when you could send a text message without fear of regulation. And so this is how and why financially as an entrepreneur, subdividing or splitting land, minor splitting land is so attractive. You buy a 40-acre property in my case, I bought it for $4,000. and you get 40 acres. If you can just go rewrite the descriptions and send it into the county and sprinkle some magic dust on it, you get 40 APNs back to resell. Can you imagine? The math on that's staggering. So now let's say I buy the property for $4,000. I've got 40 1-acre properties, and I sell them each for $1,000. I've invested $4,000 and gotten 40,000 back. This is a tiny little example. If you're Toll Brothers or Shea Brothers, or if you're a massive home builder, this is a reality. This is what subdividing is. You take a big piece of farmland, usually on the outskirts of an urban area, and you make it tiny little lots and resell the lots through whoever's going to go vertical or build houses on it and resell it. It's crazy profitable. In that case, that's a real subdivision. There's a 1 to 2 year process with a team of lawyers and all kinds of, you have to have a lot of mental brain power to get a subdivision done in a place like Phoenix, let's say. Phoenix happens to be a place in the country, I think, that encourages this. So it all starts with the spreadsheet. I can buy for 40 and sell for 4. I can buy for 4,000 and sell for 40,000. Sign me up. Where do I start? And that's the message people on the internet are delivering to new people in this business. You can print money splitting land. That's just not the case. Mathematically, it works. Are you going to jump in here?
You have why would I interrupt your story? You're going.
Anyway, I bought the property, and I did do that. I undid it because it was already done, and it was pretty easy back in the day when you could do that, and it was very profitable. I had a bunch of deals like that, actually. So you start with the mathematical concept. You get tears in your eyes. It's so beautiful. You can start doing the math on, I only need to do 10 of these deals, and then I'm kind of done forever, especially in an urban area. That's not the case. However, minor splitting land, the root of minor splitting land, which is you take 1 APN, that same 40-acre property, create, let's say, 4 or 5 parcels. For math's sake, let's just say 4, and we create 4 10-acre properties. And those 10-acre properties you will make a profit generally, because small property on a price per acre basis is more valuable the smaller it gets. I hope that makes sense. That's really, in economics, they call it the bottle case theory. So you buy a case of beer, but each bottle you can sell individually for more than the sum of the price of the case. That's the economic theory behind this. What's very realistic in certain areas, Arizona and Texas Texas specifically is very open to this. To minor splitting land, and the root of it happened with farmers. They would take a large property, a farm that they had, and their son would get married, and they would take the back 40, subdivide it off, get its own APN, give it to their child and their child's spouse, and they would have a happy life back there and working on the farm. That's the root of this, and you still can do it. So it's very possible in many areas. The further west you go, the more likely it's possible to do minor splits. Once you get a survey, and the real way to do it is you find out first if it's possible in the county you're in. I have yet to see an incorporated municipality, meaning a city, that's not just county land, that allows this. It's only county land. Have you ever seen a city?
I'm trying to think. I'm sure it's possible, but it's probably more hoops and more regulations and all that too. So, because people do it.
You want to find a place that's not going to fight you throughout this process.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get on the phone with the planning and zoning in a county and say, my first step is to look around on the internet for what's for sale. And you look at and find something. It's obvious somebody did that. There's 4 or 5 lots right next to each other. They're all an acre or an acre and a quarter. And it's obvious that they went through the process of a minor split. That tells me that it's possible and likely that if you find that property that fits their criteria, meaning the county planning and zoning, that you can do it.
I think it gets confusing for people when they go down this path. They're like, well, wait a minute, Jack, are you talking about, now I got to put in roads. They told me I have to put in 2 fire hydrants over here. And then I got to make sure we have this. I got to do this. Like, are you talking that? So I want you to, would you please clarify?
So it depends on the municipality. Some municipalities just allow you to split it. And Texas is one of the...
Without doing infrastructure.
Rural areas in Texas allow you to divide the land.
Right.
they issue new APNs. So what you're really doing is taking one APN and making 4 or 5.
Right. And you want to be smart about it too. Make sure, like, if you have like 4 and there's like a mile on the road, divide them up so they all have access.
Right.
You know, that's some people don't think about that. And I'm sure you've looked on maps and said, whose nutty idea was this? Where they have done that, where there theoretically no legal and physical access, and it was just allowed back then.
Look, the point today is that it's possible, and that minor splitting property is very possible in certain areas if the lot and the actual piece of land fits the criteria for the municipality. They're going to accept it. They will accept it at the end, or it's very likely that they will, without asking you to put infrastructure in. This is something that eventually will go away.
Yeah, that's true. My point at the beginning was I want you to buy it right. Like his buy for $4,000, he's, split it all up, sell it for 40 story is great. And I'm sure the nice thing is when he bought it for 4, he knew he could sell it for 10 in its current condition. So you just have options. All right, do I want to cash out right now, make $6,000 on this? Or do I want to put the time in it, wait several months, work with the county on this and then sell all these off? Kind of thing.
Jill and I, the likelihood of you ever doing this in your career is very small. Jill and I have done 16,000 deals since the early 90s. I think I've minor split property twice with Jill, and maybe 4 to 5, maybe 8 times, and back in a different era, I've done it. So it takes 1 to 2 years to complete this. The property that you're purchasing has to be really conducive to what the county wants for them to allow it. You need a professional surveyor who knows the people at the county on a first name basis, a local person, and who can do the survey, divide it, and run the paperwork through the county because they know everybody. And kind of, you choose that surveyor because the county likes them, and the county believes that the work that they're doing is better for the county, not worse. There's a lot of things you got to line up for this to work. So what Jill's really alluding to is don't count on this. If you're going to buy a piece of property for $4,000 and you can sell it for 10 in as is condition, fantastic. Or 40 to 100, fantastic. But if you're out looking for property because you can minor split it like the math I did, buy for 4 and sell for 40,000, you're going to be disappointed.
Or you're buying it for 20 to sell it for 40. That's my thing. I don't want you to overspend because you're banking on this. So the way we do it, and why do we not do it that much? I'll tell you why. Because this exact reason right now. We buy it going, oh, look what's possible. We can do this, we can do that. We'll make all this money. And then we stare at each other going, just sell it.
Yeah. Just make the 40 or 80% markup.
Exactly.
Instead of waiting 2 years to make
So what?
200%.
Sell it for 10. I don't want to wait that long. I want to use it on this other thing too.
If you're serious about this, and we have people in our group this is all they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes they put mobile homes on them, all kinds of stuff. Then it's very profitable. What I would really recommend is that you find a business partner that does this and bring them a deal. Sure. And say, I did all the research. This county, this is what they want. They want this acreage size, this, and this kind of access, all of it. Here's a deal. What do you say you and I split it together? If somebody does this for a living and they're a little bit older and have a lot of experience under their belt like us, they're going to say, heck yes, let's do this together.
Yep.
That's the best way to break into the minor splitting business. Join us tomorrow where we discuss flipping mobile homes to add value to your land business. You're not alone in your real estate ambition.
We are Jack and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.
We hope you find our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.